guys, welcome back to today's video. For today, I'm going to be showing you how to make these really fun cards featuring our Life is Beautiful stamp set from our new holiday mini catalog that is coming out in literally just a couple of days. So before we get into this, if you don't have a copy of the catalog, make sure you let me know. Leave me a comment here, send me an email, send me a message on my website, and make sure that you get your copy of the new catalog, because this is just one of the amazing stamp sets that are in that catalog. So to give you a little bit of a background on where this kind of originated from, so years and years and years ago, and if I can remember to, and if I can find the video, I'm sure I can find it, I'll leave a little linky-doo over here. But I did this, I made 4 cards that all were all themed around seasons. It's these 4 cards right here. And I loved it. I loved the tree and being able to just use different colors to do 4 different cards, but all kind of in the same theme with seasons. And I just loved it. This has been one of my favorite set of cards that I've ever done. And so when the stamp set retired a little while ago, I was a little sad. It kind of like broke my heart a little bit. But when I saw this new stamp set, this new Life is Beautiful stamp set in our new mini catalog, I got super excited and I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do with this stamp set. So I'm going to show you guys how I kind of created these cards, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I was just going to say something, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, that is what it is. So I'm going to film this video a little bit differently. I'm just trying out some new things. So I'm not going to go through all of the individual products like I normally do. I'll have a very detailed description in my blog post, which is the the first link in the description below. You can also just visit my website, which is littlemoncreation.com, and you can get to it from there. But I'm filming a little differently. I have a different filming setup, and I've just been thinking about changing things up a bit. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and let's just jump into it. So for this, I'm going to focus on showing you guys how I made the autumn version, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about all of the other ones, but I'm going to focus on this one, and I'm going to walk you guys through how I made this one. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut, excuse me, this is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. I am going to be using my Stamparatus for this. One, because I made this, or I'm making these cards in a set, and so I really wanted to be able to just whip them out one after the other, but also because this tree stamp is, it's a bigger image, right? So you can have some issues with it not stamping perfectly the first time, and that's the perfect reason to use your Stamparatus. I'm going to be using early espresso. I hate when people say that. It's one of those things that like makes me twitch a little bit. Early espresso, that's the color ink that I'm going to be using. We obviously have a bunch of different brown shades that you can opt to use. This one is the one that I thought went the best though. So I'm just going to ink that up and get ink all over myself as usual. I'm going to press that down. And it didn't stamp as well as I would have liked it to, so I'm just going to go in with it again. Like I said, this is one of the many reasons to use your Stamparatus, because you get some flexibility. You can go in a couple times if you need to. Make sure you get that nice, crisp, clean image that you want to see. I'm still not stamping very well here. I don't know if I'm not putting enough ink on or if I'm just not pressing down enough. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to slide this out. Put my Stamparatus off to the side, close up my ink pad before I stick my little fingers in it again. So, like I was saying, when I made these, I just stamped 4 of my little trees in a row so that I had them and they were ready to go. So, we're going to go with this autumn theme. Oops. So, the stamp pads that I'm using for this are Real Red, Mango Melody, and Daffodil Delight. Now, what I like to do, and this is just me, I like to open all of my stamp pads when I do stamping like this. I like to just open them and have them in front of me. Oh, sorry if you heard that. I'm also going to grab my Simply a Chamois here because I'm going to be using the same stamp over and over again, and so I want something that's really easy to wipe and clean my stamp off with. So before we get into this, I will show you guys kind of what I did with this leaf stamp. So in the stamp set, you have this big leaf stamp here. I took that leaf stamp, and I'll show you. And there are these two little leaves that were hanging on the side. Okay, I took them off, I cut them off, and I put them on a separate block. The reason I did that is because as we start stamping, you'll see that this is a large image, right? It's a fairly large image. I don't always want this many leaves stamped at once. And so what you can do, there are a few tricks. You can get like some tape and tape off some of them, and then ink up your stamp and then peel the tape off, and you only do some of them. I just found that I like to stamp a couple of times with the large leaf image, and then I'll just go in over and over with this small leaf image and fill in the gaps where I feel like I need to fill in gaps. So that's kind of how I am approaching this. I did the same thing. There's this other stamp in here, which I'll show you guys in a second, with one of the other cards. There's this other one with all of these little dots. I did the exact same thing. I'll pull it out. I took the big image and then I cut off these two little dots so that I could do the same thing. And they come back together really, really easily. So don't worry about cutting stamps. I'm actually going to show you guys how I cut another one here in a second. So don't yell at me. Don't get mad at me. I'm very sorry. So let's just get into making this card. So I'm going to start with my Daffodil Delight and just get a few flowers all over this card. Now I probably should put a background piece down here so that I don't stamp all over my desk, but you know what, I didn't, and so we're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so I like that. I don't think I'm gonna use the big stamp for any of my other colors. But what I can tell you is, like, I feel like I need a few more leaves up here. So I'm gonna go in with my small one, and I'm just gonna stamp a bunch of these small individual leaves up here to kind of fill in the gaps of where I think I'm missing a few. And this just gives you that extra flexibility to where you don't have to do the large stamp, like I said. Next, I'm just going to take my Simply Shimmy. I'm going to give this a really quick wipe down. Because I'm going from light to dark, it doesn't really matter. I just like to do that because it's just nature, it's out of habit. So now I'm going to go in with Mango Melody. And again, I'm just using the small stamp here because I don't want a ton of these. I just want them kind of sporadic and sparingly to add some color and some dimension. And so I'm just going to stamp all over. And with this, I kind of am really just, I don't want to say messy with it, but I just don't really think about it. I just kind of go at it. And it's one of those things where you just kind of have to do it, and it's either going to work or it's not going to work. Now, you do have to get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I've done enough. I should probably stop and take a step back, which I think that's the point that I'm at right now. So you can see here that I have some nice dimension with the red, or I'm sorry, with the yellow and the orange leaves in there. And then finally, I'm going to go in with my Real Red, and I'm going to be a little bit more strategic when I'm placing these leaves because they are just so bright. They're going to stand out really nicely on the orange and yellow leaves that we just stamped. So I'm going a little bit slower with these just because I want to be a bit more strategic about how I am placing these on here. But again, I am just kind of going at it and seeing what I like and then just stopping for a second. I think I want another there. I think I want maybe one down there. And I think that's good. So the last thing that I'm going to do while I have my little leaf stamp out still is I'm going to clean it up. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to go back into my Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to lightly stamp a couple leaves falling down out of my tree. Okay, I'm going to wipe again off to the side. I'm going to go in my Mango Melody, and I'm just going to do one there to kind of fill in the gap. And then I'm going to go in with my Real Red, and I'm going to do maybe one there and one there. Just to kind of give us the look that the leaves are falling down the tree. Now, I will tell you so if we look at our sample here, the sentiment is on this little banner. So it looks like a lot here. It looks a little messy. I did that on purpose because we're actually going to be covering quite a bit of it up. So I would rather do a little bit more than a little bit less because I know I'm going to go in and cover that piece up. So now I'm going to take my stamp pads and put them off to the side. Oh, sorry, I need actually this one more. I think we'll use Mango Melody. So there is this little stamp here. I say it looks a little bit like a pond because it kind of does. And this is just to kind of put at the bottom of your tree as a bit of a shadow. It's a very, very, very small detail, but I would suggest doing it because it kind of anchors your tree. It gives it some place to kind of land. It's not just this weird random tree floating in the middle of a white piece of paper, right? So that's the last step. Now I'm going to take this and set this off to the side. I'm going to clean up that ink because if I don't, then I'm going to make a big mess of everything here. So now all we're going to do is put this card together. So first, I guess I should stamp my little sentiment. So this is a piece of Mango Melody, and this is cut at 4 inches by 1 inch. I am going to grab my Early Espresso ink again. I'm going to use a sentiment here that says life is beautiful. And I'm going to put that right in the middle. Hopefully you guys can't see my big old noggin. I'm going to stamp that right there. Just like that. Move that guy out of the way. And now it's just putting this card together. So I'm going to be using a piece of Real Red cardstock. This is, excuse me, man, I have a tickle in my throat. I've had it all day. This is cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and then it's scored at 4 1/4, just our normal standard size card base. I'm going to fold this. Use my bone folder to get that really nice and crisp. I'm going to take our tree here, maybe, and my Stampin' seal. And I'm going to put this down here on my card base. Sorry, there's a dog right underneath me. Then I'm going to take my little sentiment here. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to get some dimensionals and probably use too many as usual. And I'm going to take the backings off of them. I am going to put this, like I said, kind of right here in the middle of the tree trunk, I guess is a good way to explain it. And that is that. That is our fun little autumn card in this series. So I want to kind of run through with you guys how I made the other 3 seasons of cards based on seasons, however you want to phrase that. So this is the one that I'm calling Summer. If I'm being 100% honest, this is probably my least favorite one. Not that it's a bad card, it's just really simple. And I basically made this the exact same way. Here, I'm actually going to set those off to the side. I basically made this the exact same way that I made the autumn one that I just showed you guys. So I stamped the tree first, and then I did all of my leaves. The leaves are stamped in Garden Green and Shaded Spruce. And then for the card base on this one, I used Garden Green as my card base. And then I just stamped my little sentiment here. I used the one that said thinking of you. I just stamped it directly onto my card base right next to the tree trunk. And I used Early Espresso for the sentiment as well on this one. The next one that I did, this is probably my favorite. This one and the fall one are my 2 favorites. So for this one, I used, there's this little snowflake image here. Can you all see that? There's a little snowflake image here. And so that's the one that I used. Because it's so tiny, I didn't bother cutting it up or anything. It's small enough where you can really intricately decide where you want to place your items. So I did the exact same thing. The ink that I used for this one is Pool Party and Balmy Blue. And then for the sentiment here, so you'll see this is the same sentiment that we used for the fall one that we just made. I just cut the sentiment right here, and then I stacked Life is Beautiful on top of each other. So I used one of our ovals from the Stitched Shapes framelits, dies, ooh, sorry. And I used Balmy Blue on top of Balmy Blue cardstock, and then Balmy Blue is also the card base on this one. And so I did that with my sentiment, and then I used, shoot, where did it go? Oh, it's right here. I used the, what is this? Snowflake Splendor ribbon, and I just put a piece of this down and I taped it on the undersides. I used a little cheater method, and then stuck the sentiment on top. Super cute, super easy, and I love this ribbon. I think it's really pretty, and it adds a nice, like sparkly kind of winter touch to it that I really, really like. And then the last one that I did is the spring card. So again, very, very similar concept to the autumn one. The only real difference is that I used, again, this dot stamp that I showed you guys earlier. I used this one instead of the leaves. The ink that I used for this one is Petal Pink and Flirty Flamingo. And then for my sentiment, what I did was something really fun, really easy, nothing super crazy, but I cut out my little circle here out of Whisper White, and then I took my Flirty Flamingo ink pad, and all you do is you just kind of scrape the sides of it, if you guys can see that. So all I'm doing, I'm trying to get a good camera angle, is I just scrape the sides. And what that does is it gives you a little bit of color around the edge of it, and it gives it a look that it's not just a white circle on a white background. That's really what I was concerned about, is I knew I wanted to use white cardstock because I just felt like it went really well, but I didn't want it to just be a white circle on a white background piece. So I did that little bit of outline to kind of give it something extra and make it pop a bit. So that is really how I put together these 4 cards. I hope you guys enjoy. Again, if you want a good laugh, you can go check out my old video kind of doing this and see that old video of me. And yeah, like I said, you can go have a good chuckle and check that one out. I'll try to link it if I remember to. Other than that, I hope you guys are doing fantastic. As always, you can purchase all of the products that I talked about here today just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. If you want more information on the specifics of like paper sizes and all of the inks and stuff, check out the coordinating blog post. The link is in the description below. You can also just go to littlemooncreation.com and you can get all of that fun information and my other projects there as well. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.